Let's lift off. Can you hear that? That is the sound of the Six Star Business podcast taking off with Ryan Baker and Rosetta Greer, Evelyn Clark and Pete Daly-Dixon. Welcome. So good to see you. And thank you for being here on this rocket ship.
Thanks. Yeah. We're excited to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you. And how we like to kick off, so whilst we're strapped in, the first thing we like to ask is to our guests is just tell us who you are, where you are in the world, who you serve, and perhaps something you like to do outside of your work, just so that our listeners can get to know who you are a little bit better. Who'd like to kick us off?
Rosetta, go right ahead.
Excellent. Hi, I am Rosetta Greer. I'm an entrepreneur, life coach, business coach, empowerment speaker, and self-help author. And I help and work and empower entrepreneurs and leaders. And I want to aim with inner peace. And I believe that working with leaders and entrepreneurs and holding them accountable to introspection and compassion and cultivating that throughout their endeavors that allows us to inspire more peace within the world. And that is my aim. I'm also the founder of Crowning Your Essence, and I also chartered a 501c3 nonprofit here in the United States. That's where I'm located. I am in Chattanooga, Tennessee, in the States. Oh, and what I love to do in the background, I love nature.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm Ryan Baker. I also love nature. I'm in Ozark, Missouri. Somewhat similar landscape to Chattanooga, slightly smaller town. I help struggling entrepreneurs recognize and overcome self-doubt so they can grow their business without that internal friction. And I love nature as well. I love walking in the woods, but I also love reading fantasy novels. I'm a total nerd.
That's wonderful. Well, that's great to get a bit of an insight into who you both are, and I'm sure, and I hope, as we go through over the next 40 or 50 minutes, that we'll find out more about you and your stories and what's brought you to this place, this conversation. And the conversation obviously is about Six Star Business. So and Evelyn as well, we're always a little bit curious as to why people show up. And I don't mean you have to justify being here in any way, shape or form. But just, what was it that kind of attracted you to the notion, the idea, the concept of Six Star Business to kind of draw you into this conversation? Rosetta, what was it for you?
When I heard, I met you in that networking group, and when I heard you talking about the Six Star Business, I said to myself, "Oh my goodness, I've never heard of that concept and that idea." And it's a podcast, and I love talking, I love conversing and meeting new people, and I just love the idea of what you all are framing here. So that drew me in, and it made me want to reach out to you and go further. So thank you for showing up.
What was it? What was it about it that kind of grabbed you?
Six Star Business. How often do you hear six stars? I've never heard it before. That was the first time I've heard the reference of a rating to a business to be six stars. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is cool. It has to be something greater than five stars. So I want to talk about that. I want to know more about it. I want to be a part of that. And that's what it was for me.
Yeah, and same for me. It's that sixth star really has that intrigue. What is it that sets that sixth star apart from a 5 star, which everyone would consider to be the best type of business? What is it that makes the difference, and how can I make my business a 6-star business?
Well, that's so great to get a bit of an insight into you both, and I'm sure as we go over the next 40 minutes that we'll find out more about you, your stories, what's brought you to here. And Av and I are always curious about why people are here. Not that you have to justify your existence in any way, shape, or form, but just curious, really, what attracted you to the idea or the notion of six-star business when you first heard about it, that has held your interest long enough to show up to chat with us for this hour. Rosetta, what was it for you?
Well, for me, it was the moment I heard you speak about it at a networking event online. And I thought to myself, six-star business, I've never heard a business be categorized by stars at six levels. And I was like, I want to know more about this. What is this? What is six stars? It has to be greater than five stars. So at that moment, I was captivated just by the title of the business itself. And I really love what's happening. And I'm excited to have this conversation today.
How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, it was similar. I was introduced by our mutual friend Rob Drummond, and again, the idea, that intrigue of this sixth star. You take something familiar and you add a twist, and you just got to find out what's different. So here I am.
Is it something that you've ever thought of before?
I hadn't considered stretching things beyond 5 stars.
What about you, Rosetta?
Yeah, I've never thought about five stars beyond that. So this is definitely, it was a new moment for me.
No,
You sometimes hear about the idea of like a glass ceiling. It's often used to talk about salaries. Often you used to hear about women in business coming up against a glass ceiling, and for me, 5 star is not so much a glass ceiling as a concrete barrier. I mean, it's just for all the time that reviews have been in existence, 5 stars is it. So when you think about that, what do you think's involved? I mean, how can it be possible to go beyond what is globally? I mean, just anywhere you go, any country in the world, 5-star ratings, 5-star reviews is it. So what can we do? How can we get over it, do you think?
I think in order to get past that limitation, those individuals who go beyond and make those calculated risks and they make those crazy investments, have that crazy faith, and they're just taking those leaps. I call it the 1%. The 1% that does everything the 99% isn't doing. Those are the people who I believe start setting those ceilings to 6 stars and 7 stars and so forth. So that's when you break it, when you start being crazy is what I call it.
Yeah, and I'll agree and build on that. So I think that a lot of times, if you ever catch yourself leaving a review somewhere and you hit the 5-star and it's a no-brainer, and you wish you could give more, and you have to make up the difference in the text, explaining all the reasons it was so amazing, that's a 6-star business. Whenever, and usually the difference is made in interactions with people, something that goes above and beyond the exchange of goods, the exchange of services, something that resonates more deeply and maybe has a greater purpose than just eating or something like that.
Can you think of a time specifically recently or where you've wanted to give that extra star?
There have been some times when I was I was at a restaurant and people were just fun. They joked around with me. It was a simple exchange, but they made it fun. They were nice to my kids. That's an easy win. If you're not like setting hot plates right in front of my kids or like knives, that's shows that you are considering me and my family and that you care. And if you're willing to kind of joke around and banter, I can be silly. That goes a long way with me.
That's good. It's lovely to hear that, and I guess it's about them, and not only anticipating your needs, it's kind of going that extra step to understand, like you said, well, your children are obviously so young that having hot plates and knives in front of them is not a good idea. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So but like you said, they went out of their way to make that, to understand that for you, and make it better. So yeah, it's great. You mentioned something before, Ryan. You said something about purpose, when they've got a greater purpose, or a person or a business has a greater purpose. Can you expand on what you were thinking with that, or meant?
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people, when they hear purpose, they get kind of overwhelmed. They think, okay, well, that's the why am I here question that everybody spends a lifetime figuring out. To me, a purpose is really just kind of a direction. It's your why. It's the reason you're doing something, but not necessarily a selfish reason. So to me, purpose is when you're doing something that's greater than yourself. It serves a purpose. It moves in a direction to serve others and better their lives, their experiences. And so I think that if someone is doing something with purpose, it's a deeper level of service, and there's a goal to better the lives and experiences of those they're serving.
Do you recognize a purpose in yourself in your own business?
I do.
You want to tell us
Yeah.
about it?
Sure. Yeah. So I have been self-employed a few times. Had started a consulting firm as the more recent endeavor, and anytime I would move into something new, I would just kind of struggle to grow, and I knew all the answers, all the things I needed to do to grow. I'm a marketing and growth expert and strategist, and so I knew all the steps to take, and it just nothing was working. And there was one day in my late 20s, I was at a conference and was introduced to the idea of finding a life theme for your story so that you can tell your story. And so I went through this exercise, kind of figure out, okay, what's my life theme? I realized that all the things I had done were to try and prove that I was enough, because I my entire life had doubted that I was enough, and it all stemmed back from my father left when I was 3 years old. Split the family. My mom was single for a few years with 6 kids, and it was really difficult. But I didn't recognize that until my late 20s, and so I kept running into barriers because of that question: am I enough? So the purpose that my business serves now, to help struggling entrepreneurs recognize and overcome self-doubt, serves that purpose of helping people understand that they are enough, and discover the power of authenticity when you can align your head, your heart, and your hands um, in that confidence, knowing that you are enough.
That's awesome. What a beautiful gift that you had in that conference, to have that awareness, and be able to theme that, create that theme, and weave it into your life and the story, and your business and your endeavors.
It's started a
Yeah.
powerful journey.
And has that changed things for you? Did that change things for you at that point?
Yeah, the awareness changed everything. It was the first steps. Everybody says, if you want to solve a problem, you have to know it, you have to be aware of it, and admit that you have it. And so it took probably 5 years, really 4 or 5 years after learning that, to kind of put together all the steps to move beyond it. I feel like it's a lifelong thing for serial entrepreneurs, especially. Anytime you move into something new, there's that shake in confidence until you do it. But when there's an internal wound like that, that's causing the self-doubt, I feel like there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And for me, and I'm glad Rosetta's on the call. It was the inner peace that comes from forgiveness that was kind of that key turning point, because I wanted to help people. I wanted to make it about them, but I couldn't take my mind off of my own problems and the desire to earn money to prove to my dad and to myself that I was worth something. So, in understanding that and in seeking forgiveness for forgiving my father, forgiving myself for the things I was blaming myself for, it helped me be able to have that peace to put my focus where it belongs, on the customer, and really be able to serve with authenticity.
You have articulated that really beautifully. It's obviously
Thanks.
been a big journey, like you said.
And Rosetta, I've seen you nodding your head all the way through, and just the brief limited understanding I have of you and your work, just from the short call we had last week. I suspect that how do you respond to and react to what Ryan shared there?
Well, what Ryan has done is what I work with entrepreneurs and leaders to do as well, to live a life through introspection, to be aware of your own emotional and mental state as you continue to lead and serve others. Because I believe that when we deal with ourselves and we deal with our lives on a day-to-day basis and really do the work within, you show up and it's seen. And I like to bring awareness to the subconscious living. A lot of times when we don't deal with ourselves and introspect, it goes into the subconscious. So even though we may not be able to label why we see that energy from a person, we can feel it. And we wonder why we feel turmoil when we go into certain rooms with people, is because their spirit or their subconscious is exuding that chaos. So a lot of times we don't see life as, it's kind of like I have this view like the Matrix. I don't know if y'all saw the Matrix, but when Neo finally saw the agents and the numbers were there, that's kind of like how I feel we are. When we learn to see that we are just energy, we're light, and even if we don't speak, we're felt. So what Ryan has done to himself and what the work he's doing on himself is what I work with other entrepreneurs and leaders every day to do that and to honor that. Because when we do that and we show up and we lead millions and millions of people, they can feel that and they are inspired to introspect. They are inspired to have that peace within themselves as well. So when he was saying that, I was like, here's what they look like when I'm done with them.
Well, hopefully nobody's watching the video. That could be a detractor, you know.
Now, your video is crystal clear.
Yeah,
It is.
1080p. Like,
Take a good
right?
look, folks. This is what you get.
Yes, you're glowing over there.
Yeah. Rosetta, you've used the word a couple of times in this call, and you used it when I spoke last week. Introspection. It's not a word that I hear particularly often from people. What is it about that word that what does that word mean to you, and why have you embraced it so much?
Oh my. I found myself about 7 years ago on this journey to self, and I started getting dreams. That's a conversation for another day. But these dreams were visions, and I was getting information about people's journey that I didn't know about until I had these dreams. And it made me so curious, like, why am I getting these dreams? And I mean, these dreams are like very vivid. And one of the things that I noticed in all the dreams that I was having was I was present. I was very, very present. The past didn't matter. The future didn't matter. It was the present moment. And it made me want to kind of carry that over into this reality, so to speak. And I started wanting to understand, how do you be present? So I kind of fell into this idea of self exploration and constantly asking myself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I in this space? Who am I here with you all right now? What energy am I? What is my focus? What am I doing here? And that type of analysis brought me to introspection, because I live a life through introspection, and I live a life through understanding that if I'm not right within, whatever I do on the outside won't matter, because subconsciously I'm feeding the core of me to the world, even though they don't hear it, right? So I think when I started going into this direction, Here recently, this year in 2021, I created this program or this training called introspective based leadership. So I speak to leaders and entrepreneurs and I talk to them about getting in tune with themselves, having mental reset. You know, it's important to reset the mind every single day that you live. Every day we have is a gift. And I started finding out that introspection brings forth authenticity. Introspection brings forth, because nowadays in this century that we're in, people want to know the person behind the business. People want to know the person, like, who is this, who's the owner, who is this entrepreneur. So authenticity, when it shows up because you're doing that introspection, you're looking at yourself constantly, battering yourself, you're in competition with who you were yesterday, it allows you to show up and really make a move and really impact those that you serve.
Wow.
Sounds like 6 star to me.
How hard is it to do this, Rosetta, for someone
Yeah.
who's never done it before, like a business leader or an entrepreneur? How hard is it for them to do this and do it
It
well?
is as hard as you make it in your mind. I always tell individuals, my clients, customers, supporters, just relationships in general, all you got to do is turn it off in your head. Don't let your intelligence turn against you. Use your intelligence for what it's designed for. You know, I always think about the idea, like, I can eat a waffle and my body intelligence is so high, it breaks it down. It makes it disappear into something else. So that level of intelligence is working inside of me. And if we're not careful and we're feeding our intelligence this negative thought patterns, this negative thinking, this doubt, this just all these things that goes against the design, it makes it hard. But as soon as you turn it off and just say, I can, changing how you speak. So I would say it is hard to arrive to the point, but once you become aware, you can choose upward and forward. And that's my truth on that.
I have a question, but Ryan, you going to say something?
Well, I could
No.
riff on that all day
Yeah,
long.
please do. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is my jam. I just posted a post on LinkedIn on exactly this. So I'm a Christian, and it was referencing the Bible. There's a couple of things that people mention, and they never talk about how to do it. So they talk about taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. A lot of times they leave out the last part and they just say take every thought captive. So that's what I did, using the language of my target customers, and then. They talk about being transformed by the renewing of your mind, which is exactly what Rosetta was talking about. So the beginning of that, you have to be aware of your negative thought patterns if you want to change them. And so the way we're designed, again, with our subconscious, is that there's so many things going on around us, so many inputs that we are ignoring because of our subconscious. It protects us by ignoring the vast majority of things unless it's important to us or relevant. And so when you become aware of a negative thought pattern that you dislike, that you want to change, then it becomes important and relevant. And so it fires what's called reticular activators in your mind. So it brings it into focus like a reticule. It activates the reticule and brings it into focus. So whenever you start that some triggering event occurs and you go into a negative pattern, suddenly you're aware and you're consciously aware of it, you can actually then go and decide consciously to change it. So taking every thought captive begins when you are aware of what's happening and you stop and consciously decide to do something different. You understand your triggers, you understand the pattern that comes after, and you can replace it with a positive pattern. And then what you need to do, you need to understand neuroplasticity. So the brain is malleable. You actually form pathways when you think, when you do something. And so it can kind of begin as like a subtle little route, a path, and then it becomes a highway and then a superhighway. And for people like me who had gone through, 30 years of negative patterns, you've got a lot of superhighways that you have to reroute. And the difficulty in renewing your mind is that it does take time. Anytime you have to think about something you haven't thought about before, you have to form a new route. And the difficulty there is that the brain wants to take the easiest route, the path of least resistance. So to renew your mind, it does take time, but the good part is that every time you successfully go through that positive pattern, every time you consciously take that thought, that negative pattern, you stop it and you go the other way, the harder way, it gets easier because that little path becomes a highway, becomes a superhighway. And you can always slip back, but you don't have to, you're not starting over. You've got that path started, and all you have to do is decide to go the positive way again.
Take the road less traveled.
Yeah, and then make it the road way more traveled.
Yeah, until you get to another fork in the path.
Yep.
I love that.
It's a passion.
The universe has done it again, Av.
I was thinking the same thing. We obviously you guys booked this slot. So to our listeners, there's no orchestration of who comes onto the show together. You both chose this time slot, and the synchronicities between our guests have just been incredible. So we just love the divine order of things and who shows up on this call.
Because if you remember, Ab, there was actually a last minute changeover as well, just towards the end of last week. Mm-hmm. The person that was
that's right. Yeah.
scheduled in wasn't able to come because of childcare issues. She's a single mum. And then I just the day before I had a chat with Rosetta, and then the slot became available, and it's just like, oh, how does this stuff even work? How does it work?
It's
People
amazing.
need to know this info.
Yeah.
And I wanted to expound on what you asked me and about like how would I tell the listeners or just any entrepreneur leader or any person that's in that stance and taking that role of influencing. And I want to say one thing that really took it home for me. I went through the process of wanting to be unconditional love, because I realized that humans don't really get unconditional love. There are so many conditions placed upon us. Like, we're brought into this world free, and then next thing you know, we have names and identities and this, and we're a male or female, we're African American, black, white. So we just have all these identities just placed upon us. And how can you really get unconditional love with those many layers of identities? And I think my hunger to just really bring forth compassion so we can remember what unconditional love was like. And it reminded me of something Ryan said. I correlate that with Christ consciousness. So Christ consciousness is the idea of, and so many people have different beliefs, right? But I want to break down just the science just really quickly about Christ consciousness. If you think about Jesus the Christ, he was an Essene. He was a therapeutic. He was someone that was a master teacher of unconditional love. And I always think about Christ in that regard, right? And I also understand that when our blood is dry, it's crystallized. So we're just all in this Christus form, and this Christ consciousness is the idea of unconditional love. How do you give unconditional love? You have to have peace within yourself. It's hard to love you unconditionally if I haven't given that space to myself. So to hear you say that, Ryan, and just bringing these words in play, like my entire book is all about, I went through a journey of 7 years, 7 realms of ascension from religion to spirituality. And I studied Jesus the Christ, Jesus, right? And I studied this essence to see and understand unconditional love on a universal level. And now I have come to the space of Christ consciousness. And that's where I live. And so it's possible, as much as the science of it can be hard because of the human experience, to those who are listening, it is possible. When you reach for inner peace within yourself and you're honest about your journey and you desire to give yourself unconditional love, you will replicate that in this life. So you can change your life to be better once you start doing the work within yourself.
Wow, that's beautiful. Rosetta, can you share with our listeners about your book? You mentioned your book. Is it published?
It's being released on November 11th. So you can go to my
Ooh,
website to pre-order. I am having a book signing here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, as well as Knoxville, Tennessee, and I have a few other locations set up for the future. But it is coming out November 11th. It'll be released. I'm really excited. Seven Rooms of Ascension talks about the last 7 years of my life. So it's an autobiographical and self-help book. And I have thought-provoking questions throughout this book, real questions that I asked myself throughout this journey. And this book was developed all from the idea. In the last 2 years, I've had several people say, "Who are you and where did you come from?" So this book is my attempt to answer that through telling my experience from I went through like several different religions. Literally, like was practicing them and believing in them. And it took me back to the root, which is Christ consciousness. So I went through all of these channels just to get back to the truth of what it all is. And it's called Seven Rims of Ascension from Religion to Spirituality.
beautiful. Thank you. That sounds very interesting and exciting.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's my second self-published book, so I'm excited.
Wonderful. We'll have the link to the for that to your on the show notes under on the podcast page too, so people can find you and your book.
Thank you.
If I was a cynic, and I'm not, but if I was, let me. No, I'm not a cynic, but I am an actor. So let me play the part of a cynic, just to spice up the conversation, possibly a little bit. This all sounds very woo woo and unprofessional, unbusinesslike. I've got a business to run here. I've got employees to pay, and I've got bills to pay, and I've got customers that are to serve, and that are complaining, and I've got to support, and I haven't got time to do all of this like self-introspection stuff. How's that going to make me any money?
Is that for me? Can I go first?
Both of you.
Okay, I would love to go first. Oh, thank you. I love a challenge like that. But I'll be honest with you. I believe that in being in that level or in that role, you're supposed to work smarter and not harder. And when you are your true self, you automatically know the people to put in positions so you won't have to work so hard and deal with the demands of turnover rates and all the rigmarole and the anger and the frustrations. You really start understanding people on an energetic level. So just because someone has qualifications does not mean they're qualified to do the work. So because it has a lot to do with the energy of a person, this essence of a person. So it's so important to know yourself and to introspect because you can be smarter and you can make smarter moves and you won't have to work so hard. So you can be living that life that you want somewhere in utopia. So I think when you level up within yourself, you know who to put in charge and you won't have those worries.
Delegation's enough of an answer. That's good. So I've got a couple questions to answer back to your questions. So it sounds woo. My question is, so this is a business problem. What is a business? It is a group of people in relationship with each other and seeking relationship with customers for mutual benefit. So a lot of people together interacting with other people. And if you don't understand people, you don't understand their minds, how they work, your mind, how it works, and you don't understand how to interact knowing the lens that you're viewing them through and their actions and their words through and the lens they're viewing you through, then how can you make money? How can you sell? How can you market if you don't interact with people, if you don't talk to people and understand them, their problems, their life, their thoughts, their emotions, their worries, their pains, their desires, their hopes, their dreams, their fears? If you don't understand all of this, you're not going to be able to market. You're not going to be able to sell. You're not going to be able to hire and delegate properly. And if you don't understand yourself, then you're not going to know why you're pushing everyone away.
And for anyone
I mean,
listening to this, Rosetta just did the mic drop like action, which is what Pete did just after Rosetta spoke. So
I pack my bags and go?
So what you're saying then is that to be six-star, to be successful, to be a better human being, this stuff has to be done. There's no way around it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. I believe in my space, what I've learned, we're in a new age. And there is like a huge shift mentally. Like we live in a time where people are afraid to breathe. So a lot of people don't know, but spirit, the etymology of spirit is breath. So this is a serious situation. I used to always hear this little idea, the war is unseen or it's a spiritual war. But now that I know that spiritual means breath, and we live in a time where we have so many different tensions in the world, and we also have so many things going on because of the pandemic, it's like everyone is sitting down with themselves. So it's relevant today. Maybe about 2 decades ago, none of this stuff mattered. It was that kind of let's go, let's go. We just got to get this thing off the ground. But today we are in a time where it's even hard to just move to the left and the right without actually saying like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Like people are losing jobs and becoming career oriented and entrepreneurship. So it's just so relevant today. So yeah, it's very important to deal with this breath, this spirit, and show up in that space because people are wanting to get inside themselves now. So no one wants to even work for a job where they're not even honoring who they are as an individual, because at the end of the day, a business can be swept away in a moment, but guess who'll still be here? We will, right? None of this stuff goes with us when we leave. So it's important that we show up in our authentic selves, understanding that all of these things can be recreated, but we can't.
Yeah. And for those that are willing to sacrifice themselves and everyone around them for their business, I part of my journey led me through studying and working with the Inc. 5000, the fastest growing companies in the United States. They have a list in Europe as well. And one interesting thing I found was that 2/3 of the Inc. 5000 fail within 5 to 8 years of making the list, shut their doors, close at a loss, or shrink significantly. Um, and I wondered why that was. And the deeper I dug, the more I realized that um, growth started happening for the sake of growth. It wasn't. There was no purpose behind it. There was no reason to grow other than to be bigger, to make more money, and it started becoming the goal itself. And they forgot the things that led to growth, which are building relationships with people and serving them in a way that gives them value. So if you want to grow your business, you just have to serve more people or provide more value. And
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that serving selflessly, I had this discussion with someone the other day. Serving selflessly doesn't mean that you're not receiving payment or even fair compensation for your work. It just means that you are not the reason you're doing the work. You are receiving, you're not taking, you're receiving your due for the value you provide. And if you always aim to provide more in value than you take in payment, thank you, Bob Berg and John D. Man, then you will constantly be able to continue raising your prices and getting more money and growing and serving more people.
I've loved this conversation. The technology gods were trying really hard to prevent this conversation from taking place. Do you remember, Rosetta, at one point you said, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Just you were finding it so difficult to get on the call without echoes, and so that we could hear you or you could hear us. I'm so glad we persevered.
And I was about to say, you know what we did? We sat and looked around us and did some introspection into what was going on. And
that's a little bit too meta for me at this time of night.
This didn't have anything to do with us. This was technology, so we didn't have to look within on this one. This was more of a human situation.
Yeah.
The rocket ship 6-star needs to be brought down onto the like a Falcon, SpaceX Falcon rocket.
I hope you guys have enjoyed this lovely tour in the 6-star rocket ship today. I'm wondering, as we sort of start to glide and turn around and come down for a landing, would you like to share with our listeners one thing? If there was one thing you could say to someone listening to this right now that you could leave with, what would that be? Ryan, do you want to go first?
Never and always. So I think that really there are no shortcuts. It's going to take work, but the work gets easier the more you do it. Don't be afraid. You are enough. You have everything you need. You just have to put in the work. And when you start doing it, a lot of that fear is just going to fall off.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much. Rosetta, what would you
I
like
would
to
say,
leave us with?
as I am declining back into this space from this amazing rocket ship and we're about to land, I would like to encourage two things. One, the world is too big to be stuck in one place. Remember, there's about 7.5 billion people in this world, and you don't have to be stuck in a situation. You can go further. And the other thing is, chaos is inevitable. But in every moment of chaos, you have the ability to choose upward and forward. And that is realistic positivity. You can, you will, and you are.
Lovely. I'm so grateful. Thank you,
you.
Ryan. Thank you, Rosetta, for sharing this journey with us. And much gratitude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you.